Good morning, Gills fans, and welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV. It is that time of the week again, Friday morning, which means we shall be running through the key points from Adrian Pennock's press conference as the team prepare to travel to Bury for tomorrow's League One fixture. We will do that and then obviously have a look ahead to said game. Straight into it then, obviously, AD, first thing he did was touch on Tuesday night. Swindon said it wasn't good enough. We need to turn up tomorrow at Gig Lane against a side that's in form, do all the simple things correctly. He said that they've looked at the DVD since Tuesday night. They're very aware of what went wrong again, and they understand now that it's 11 cup finals between now and the end of the season. Obviously, Bury are a massive side, very experienced in the key areas. They won 3 on the bounce, AD touched on as well, so they're in form. I think they've only lost 1 of their last 9 or 10. So it's not going to be an easy task going up there. But he said that we know what we've got to do. We've prepared again, we'll prepare again this morning. We'll go through all the finer points and fine-tune everything that we've worked on since the Swindon game. And we go up there with a game plan. He was asked about the fans' reaction Tuesday again. Obviously, you probably saw my short video immediately after full-time Tuesday evening. Wasn't quite as angry as the Coventry result, but still it's not good enough. AD said he feels for us, he understands it from a supporter's point of view, and that we're poor versus too many teams that are in and around us and have been since he's been involved in the club. Unfortunately, he said it's great going to 2nd or 3rd in the league or beating 5th, and but we have to do it consistently all the time against every side that we play. He said the good thing is obviously there's lots of very good footballers within this squad, within this football club. And first thing they have to do is compete and earn the right to play both individually and collectively as a side, and then obviously we can hopefully see our quality shine through. But yeah, he couldn't bang on about it enough. Have to do the basics right first, have to earn the right to play by doing your tasks and your jobs correctly from the first whistle to the last. He spoke about a couple of individuals. Harry Cornick got brought up first. Said he's a week to 10 days away, so we're probably looking at maybe Scunthorpe next Saturday, fingers crossed. But obviously it's all in the hands of Bournemouth still, similarly to the Joe Quigley situation. So he goes down the same line again. He said he's chomping at the bit and can't wait to get started, and he wants to be here. He would have been here yesterday if he was allowed. But we've heard that all before, and obviously we just sit tight and wait for the go-ahead from his parent club. Obviously, big news regarding Paul Konchesky in the last few days. It got rumoured a couple of days ago that he might be leaving and going to non-league Billericay. It will be bankrolled by their, well, now apparently their caretaker manager as well as their new owner, Glenn Tamplin, I think it is. I think Conch has effectively retired from the professional game, judging by his Instagram post last night. AD said he was very honest with Paul from the off as soon as he arrived. He's not part of his plans. He didn't see him being a part of his plans moving forward. Couldn't thank him enough though. Said he's a top professional who's had a top career, and he's hoping that Conch will stick around and in some capacity as like a mentor to the younger players, maybe do some scouting work, etc. So he might still be in and around the club as we move forward. Obviously from that to the next one, the other end of the scale in terms of age in that position at left back was Aaron Simpson. He was asked, and is he ready if called upon? And AD said that obviously the first team and the other parts of the squad, they train close together at the same venue. So he's very aware of him, as he is the likes of Noel and Bo, obviously through Mark Patterson, who obviously used to be his teammate. Said he's got no hesitation in using them if they are required. He said they're there on merit, they're not there just to make up the numbers. Obviously they're there for a reason in terms of we've got a lot of injuries and they probably wouldn't be on the bench anyway. But he said he's got no fear in chucking them in if they are required to play in the first team. But he did state that no one else will be coming in. So we're not getting another left back. So we're effectively going with no left back for the rest of the season. Garmston looks to be out. Bradley Garmston, that is, with his hamstring tear for the rest of the season. So hopefully Deji can get fit, and if we have to play him as a left back, that'll be it. Other than that, not sure who will play there. But that was pretty much it. There was one thing he did touch on, which was the Billericay thing, and he just was asked about wages in the game, and obviously there's a lot of money being bandied around in non-league football rumoured at the moment. But he said you can't blame the football players, and you can't blame anyone that's offered a massive contract at any level. He said if he was offered £100 a week, he'd take it. He said if one of his youngsters was offered £100 a week to go somewhere, he wouldn't stand in there where they'd take it. He said you cannot blame them for being offered these exorbitant amounts of money. Have a look at the companies or the clubs that are offering them. Went off on a bit of a tangent about healthcare and nurses, ambulance staff and that sort of trade, and said obviously they all deserve to be paid more. But it's not the footballer's fault for being offered 100, 200, 300 grand a week to go and play football. At the end of the day, he said, him, me, you, anyone have to look after yourselves and your family. And if you was offered that amount, you'd be stupid to turn it down. Anyway, that sort of ties up the press conference and the key parts of it. And I will now have a look ahead to tomorrow's trip to Gig Lane, where we take on an informed Bury side. So those are obviously all the headlines in the Friday edition of the Medway Messenger. Reaction to Tuesday from both Adi and Cody McDonald, who, as we saw, said that Tuesday wasn't good enough and we let everybody down. Players were aware that performance was poor, inept, whatever you want to call it, just wasn't good enough, despite taking an early lead. I mean, I listened to it on the radio and we got battered for the entire 90 minutes. So Bury we go to, yes. A side very much in form since Lee Clark took over. Polar opposite to us in terms of a new manager going in and having effect, whereas we've only won one game since Adrian Pennock's been at the club. Lee Clark's gone in there and seemed to have had an instantaneous effect on performances which have taken an upturn, and more importantly, results. They've won their last 3, I believe. I think they've won 4 of their last 5, taking 13 points from 15. They've only lost once in the last 9 or 10 games, I believe. They have goals in them up front. I think Ryan Lowe, 38 years old, still doing it. He's in double figures for the season. Tom Pope netted in the week, I think, in a 2-1 win. And also netting in that game was James Vaughan, who has 19, I think, for the season, and something like 11 in his last 12. So they're going to cause us a threat. They're big, they're physical, they're an handful. They can probably run in behind. Vaughan's not the slowest. Tom Pope's a bit of a lump. Can we deal with it and that physicality? I'm not so sure. In terms of our team news, we know Bradley Garmston's out. Deji went for a scan on his knee back at Cardiff, and Adi said in his press conference that that's come back clear, but he's still feeling his groin, so he's 50-50 for tomorrow. Chris Hurd is still out. He's having treatment on a knee injury. It's just one thing after the other with him. To be honest, I'd have no hesitation in releasing him at the end of the season. The 2 that could be back are Bradley Dack and Mark Byrne. They are the most likely out of them 3, including Deji. So fingers crossed we can get them involved, if it's from the bench or from the start. But obviously we don't want to play them for the sake of playing them and then they aggravate them and end up missing more games because we need everyone fit and available and firing all cylinders now for these 11 cup finals that Adi mentioned in his press conference. I think how we line up is going to be pretty much similar to Tuesday, isn't it? I can't see there being many changes unless you can get a couple back. So it'll probably be Nelson in goal. Back three will be Ryan Jackson, Max Amar and Zesh Raymond. Maybe there's a case for bringing Mark Byrne back in if he's fit alongside Josh Wright. I think away from home he might offer more discipline. If not, it'll probably be Emmanuel Osadebe in there. Your wing-backs are more than likely to be Lee Martin and Scott Wagstaff. And the front three is probably going to be Cody McDonald, Josh Parker and Joe Quigley. You would imagine that Joe would play at the focal point of that. And I think, similarly to Tuesday, Josh Parker and Cody McDonald may alternate between who's up top alongside him or who's just playing slightly deeper in that centre attacking midfield role. I mean, it'd be great if we can get Daki in there, but as I've said, you don't want to risk him for the sake of it and then he pulls up again and we miss him for even longer. In terms of the preview, I think that's pretty much it. We've covered them, we've covered us. Just one thing I wanted to touch on, obviously in more positive news, which I ran over when I first showed. Title winning captain retires. You can see there a column about, to be honest, I thought it should have been a bit bigger. This is a guy who captained Gillingham to the League Two Championship title in 2013. Had two big spells at Southend where he's a legend. There's been a lot of talk of him being a legend at Gillingham for what he did in 2013. But regardless, Adam Barrett played a massive part in what we achieved that season, over 700 professional games. I think he helped the club keep 18 clean sheets in 46 games that season that we won promotion from League Two as champions under Martin Allen. Obviously, a lot of the players that were there at the time have expressed their gratitude. Have some Wimbledon players and Southend players, and I think one notable one for us was Bradley Dack tweeted and obviously said, "What a man, Adam Barrett. Great captain, great player. Pleasure to have played with you, mate, and all the best in the future, Skip." Yeah, I think he'll always be welcome back at Priestfield. And I think I saw something on social media that the wheels are already in motion, so to speak, to maybe get him back on the pitch in a future game as a returning legend, which would be great. Prediction. I've not done a prediction. In terms of results tomorrow, unfortunately, I cannot see us keeping a clean sheet. I repeat that every single game. I fear that we're going to have to score 3 again to get something out of the game. And in all honesty, I can't see us getting anything. I'm going to go for Bury 3, Gillingham 1. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the boys can go and prove me wrong and pick something up, at least a point. Just a crumb of comfort or a little bit of hope to cling on to as we move forward to next week when we have to play Scunthorpe and Bolton within 4 days. Anyway, until next time, up the Gills.